What are the best trail mountain bikes for 2021? Riders, welcome back to Sans Bikes, where you know we only talk e-bikes. And this week we are looking at the best trail electric mountain bikes on the market in 2021. As we know, the electric mountain bike scene is definitely heating up, with over 40 good brands making amazing mountain bikes in 2021. And also, the geometry is changing a little bit. So I'm saying a trail and an enduro bike and a super enduro bike and a downhill bike, it's all getting a little bit blurry and mixed. So for me, what a trail e-bike is, it has between 140 and 160 millimeters of rear travel. It probably has 29 wheels or mullet, and it has at least a 625 watt battery. Because if you're talking about trail riding, that means you do want to be doing 3-4 hour rides. Some of these bikes we're going to talk about, if you just look at the geo numbers alone and not the suspension, they're almost fully blown downhill bikes. But that's what I'm talking about. It's very interesting. This market is completely changing. But before we get into that, I've got massive news. Sam's Bikes has a new partner. Orbea has come on board. If you've been watching the channel, you know I'm a big fan of the eddy currents. And now on the Levo SL, I've got the Magic Mary Big Betty, and that's amazing as well. So nothing's gonna change with the content at Sam's Bikes. Just getting a little bit of extra help from Orbea, which is really appreciated. And also on my race bike and all my test bikes, I will be running eddy currents or Magic Marys or Big Betties. For me, there's a few reasons. They're great tires. Also, we're not testing tires on an e-bike, we're actually testing the bike. And also it's for safety. I'm riding loads of different bikes now. And look, if you're riding different tires all the time, it's different air pressures, different traction, I just think it's safer to ride the same tires across the board of all the bikes I'm testing. And riders, if you have any questions on the eddy currents or the Magic Marys or the Big Betties, hit me up, I'm happy to help. Now, another shameless plug. Christmas is just around the corner. Buy a Sam's Bikes t-shirt. The lineup is looking really good, if I do say myself, and we do have the new e-bike Revolutions t-shirt, which I really believe it's a revolution, so go check them out. Okay riders, enough of all that. Let's get on to the best 8 trail electric e-bikes. Number 1, Trek Rail. Trek were pretty late to the party in the e-bike game. They had a few bikes, they weren't very good. And then they released the Trek Rail, I think about a year ago, heavily inspired by their very successful Enduro Slash. The rail is rolling on 29 wheels, 160 and 150 suspension, Bosch Gen 4 motor, 625 battery in pretty much all the models. 465 reach in a large, 64.5 degree head angle, a pretty short chainstay for a 29er at 447. But you know what I really like about the rail? It's got a flip chip and also a pretty short chainstay for a 29er with 447. So you could put a mullet on that. And what I would do is I would up the suspension to 170 and probably run a mullet in the high setting of the flip chip. And I think this bike would be an absolute beast. Coming in around 22 to 23 kilos and starting from 4,400 euros, which is very aggressively priced for Trek. Number 2, Specialized Levo. The classic, the original, probably the most sold e-bike in history. The Levo gets on the list again for 2021. The Levo is rolling on 29 wheels, 160, 150 suspension, Bros Mag S motor with a large 700 watt battery in most of the lineup, 455 reach in a large, 66 degree head angle, 455 chainstays, coming in at 21 to 23 kilos and starting at 5,600 euros. It's true, the Levo is a little long in the tooth, but it's a classic and still a great option in 21. Number 3, Orbea Wild FS. The Wild FS is hugely popular, beautiful looking bike, very well spec'd and very well priced from the Spanish. Running on 29 wheels, Bosch Gen 4, 625 battery, 160 mils of travel front and back, 455 reach in a large, 65.5 head tube angle, 455 chainstay, weighing in from 22 to 24 kilos and starting from 4,600 euros. The Wild FS is a great trail e-mountain bike in 2020, and one thing I really love about Orbea is you can totally customize your build. Number 4, Commencal Meta Power 29er. The new Meta 29er is definitely pushing the boundaries between what is a trail bike and an enduro bike. But for me, I think the Meta is actually going to be a great all-round e-bike. You've got enough suspension to ride park, you've got enough battery power to go backcountry. I think it's going to be a great all-rounder. Rolling on 29 wheels, 170, 155 suspension, Shimano EP8 motor with a 630 watt battery, 475 reach in a large, 63.5 degree head angle, chainstay 453, weighing in at 24 kilos and starting at 5,500 euros. I personally love the look and the spec of the Signature 29er. I would not change one part on this bike, and I'm sure Commencal are going to sell a truckload of these. Number 5, Merida E160. The E160 is an absolute classic e-bike, but in 2021 it even gets better. Rolling on a mullet setup, 160/150 suspension, Shimano EP8 motor, 460 reach in a large, 439 chainstay, 65.5 degree head tube angle, and coming in at 22 kilos. The Merida E160 is starting at around 4,500 euros, but make sure you get the one with the 630 watt battery and the EP8 motor. I personally love the look of the 10K, the new top spec Merida E160. That paint job is out of control. Number 6, Radon Render. If you're looking for great value and really good specs in your trail e-bike, then the Render is a great option. Rolling on 29 wheels, Bosch Gen 4, 625 battery, 160 mils up front and 140 in the rear, 460 reach in a large, 458 chainstays, 65.5 degree head tube angle, and coming in around 23 kilos. The Radon Render has gone up a little bit in 2021, but it's still starting at 4,200 euros. The Render is a great option if you're looking to get an e-bike on a budget with great spec. Number 7, Haibike All Mountain. The new e-bike from Haibike is giving the online companies a run for their money. The All Mountain is really well spec'd and really well priced. Rolling on mullet wheels, so 29 up front, 27 out back. 160 mils of suspension front and rear, 450 mil reach in a large, 460 mil chainstays, and a 65 degree head tube angle, coming in around 24 kilos and starting from 5,700 euros. But if it was me, go for the top spec, amazing value for money and hard to beat. For me, maybe the only drawback is the Yamaha motor. It's not bad, I've tested it, but it wouldn't be my favorite motor. But at the same time, it's gonna get the job done. And for that price, with that spec, it is a great option. And number 8, Marin Alpine Trail. The new Alpine looks like a mini downhill bike, so how can it be a trail bike? Well, as I said, riders, that line between enduro and trail bikes is being blurred. But the Alpine still has 160 and 150 mils of travel, so on my book, it's a trail bike. Running on a mullet setup, 29 up front, 27 out back, Shimano EP8 motor, 630 watt battery in the top spec, and as I said, 160 and 150 suspension, 485 reach in a large, super short chainstay 435, and super slack head tube angle at 63, coming in around 24 kilos. Starting from 4,900 euros, but that model comes with the E7000 motor and a 500 watt battery. I think Marin have done an amazing job with their new e-bike. It's great to see them entering the market with a bang. The bike looks super fun, super playful, love the short chainstay, love the low standover height. The geometry looks pretty spot on. I would definitely love to test this. And they've been very clever with their component selection, keeping the price down, but giving you a pretty good bang for buck, I reckon, so definitely check it out. And riders, that's it for my list of the best trail e-mountain bikes in 2021. But what are you riders thinking? What are you gonna buy? What are you thinking is the best bike out there? Let me know in the comments. And for me, I do need a bike. I'm probably gonna go for more of an enduro bike, but if I was gonna get a trail bike, I do really like the look of the Commencal. I think it's kind of definitely blurring that line between a trail and an enduro bike, probably why I'm interested in it. Having 170 up front, 155 at the back, running on 29 wheels, big battery. You're gonna be able to do park, you're gonna be able to do backcountry, you're gonna be able to do everything. I'm also a massive fan of the Merida E160. Short chain stays, beautiful looking bike. Merida definitely know what they're doing there. But I do need a race bike, and I reckon to be competitive, it needs to be a Bros or a Bosch motor. So I think if I was getting one of these bikes, I would go the Trek Rail, because I like that it is a 29er, but also like that it's got a 447 chainstay. I would probably try it on a mullet setup and lift the suspension to 170. And I think that would be a pretty great setup, but then again, I have to test it. So that's what I'll be looking at getting in 2021. And riders, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Share it with like-minded people, really means a lot. Massive shout out to Orbea for sponsoring the channel. They make great tires, and stay safe out there, and I'll see you next week.